I do see some slow traffic coming out of the tunnel, actually on the San Francisco side, but we'll see how this shakes out. Also, I'm seeing delays forming on the southbound side of 880. Looks like we have a problem in Oakland just before you get to 23rd Avenue. It looks like a stalled vehicle in the second from left lane. Traffic is quickly backed up behind it, almost to the 980 split. Not quite, but as you come out of downtown Oakland, suddenly stop-and-go traffic southbound side of the Nimitz. We've also got problems on the lower peninsula heading up into Mountain View, trying to take care of a crash northbound 101 near Moffett that's got traffic backed up both on 237 and on 101 beyond Fair Oaks, so expect delays here. They moved a crash off to the side in Menlo Park, South 101 at Marsh. There's also a stall still being dealt with South 101 at Willow in the third from left lane, and the Chilton Out-of-Body collision cam does see just a little bit of slow traffic behind it. Your next update, 9:28 on the traffic leader, KCBS.
Mancini Sleep World 6-day weather forecast, introducing Sleep Match exclusively at Mancini Sleep World. Here's Darren Peck.
Okay, the marine layer's pretty much absent this morning. That's different from the last few days, so you've got clear skies out there. Day where you feel a little bit of the humidity, not everybody's feeling that, but some of the locations, along the you certainly have, perhaps along the South Bay and some of the Bay shoreline, you've been feeling a little more humidity. If you have one more day of that, it's going to get better tomorrow. The southerly flow that's been bringing that moisture in is going to end on Friday. So less humidity there. And you'll also feel a cool. If you're in the low to mid 90s today, which most inland locations are, you're going to be low to mid 80s tomorrow. Noticeably cooler for Friday, especially in the north. Don't change a whole lot. We range upper 70s to mid 80s today. You pretty much do that again tomorrow, and really for the next 6 days. I'm meteorologist Darren Peck with your KCBS KPIX5 First Alert Forecast.
Traffic and weather together on the 8th on Almost 106.9 and AM 740 KCBS.
When you pursue an associate degree for transfer at a California community, your guaranteed safe father to 4-year university. Start on the path to success and enroll today before classes fill up at icangotocollege.com.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive over $700 on average and no savings at all. And that's what you could buy in the future.
Graphics is so real on this video game console I bought for the transition to Progressive 10 years ago. I can't tell what's real and what's the game, which I think is what people want, in the future, which it is currently.
So switch to Progressive and savings could add up in the future. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates National Annual Average Insurance Savings. Customers through agency with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
Brought to you by the Capital One Venture X Card. Earn 10 X miles in rental cars and 5 X miles in flights when you book through Capital One Travel. Plus 2 X miles on all other purchases. Capital One. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KCBS News Time 9:22. It is time now for Ask an Expert. Every weekday at about this time, we give you direct access to top experts in various fields related to the pandemic. Today, more and more cases of COVID into the mild category, but that doesn't mean those cases don't need to be taken seriously.
To answer your questions on this and more, we're joined live on the KCBS Ring Central Newsline by Dr. Susanna Nagy, infectious disease clinician at Duke University School of Medicine. And if you have a question you'd like answered, please email us at askus@kcbsradio.com. Dr. Nagy, thank you so much for joining us and discussing this. What exactly is the state of mild COVID as opposed to the more serious version?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thanks, for having me on. For what we call mild to moderate COVID, these are people in the community who are developing infection and hopefully will not have progression. So we're talking about having symptoms, like fatigue, cough, body aches, and common symptoms that we see with mild to moderate disease, particularly from the Omicron variant or subvariant. So in terms of what the options are for therapy, frankly, right now, if you are someone who has a significant comorbid medical condition, so some medical condition that increases your risk, that you could go from mild to moderate. That could be based on your age, that could be based on other medical conditions like diabetes or obesity, a history of smoking. And then those people have access medications that are either approved by the FDA or are under what we call emergency use authorization. So these are medications like monoclonal antibodies or medications like a drug with the trade name Paxlovid or Molnupiravir. And those are actually pills that you can take. And so those are available and recommended for people that have risk factors, who currently have mild to moderate symptoms, but who are at risk of getting worse and having more severe symptoms that can lead to hospitalization and then the potential risks of that hospitalization. So right in the community right now who are lower risk, who do not have medical conditions, or frankly who have been vaccinated and boosted, where we know vaccines and boosters in combination with prior infection is quite preventative of severe progression and need for hospitalization, but still doesn't mean you're not. For many of those people, one is, you probably talked to some of them, some people can have very mild, can really go on for a number of days. You can miss work, you can miss school, and I think would like to get better quicker. And that's kind of where we're trying to do work to understand whether or not there are additional medications that can be used even in those people who don't currently have access to other therapies under the FDA authorization.
So where does the work to find treatment for mild or moderate COVID stand right now?
Yeah, there are a number of studies, both looking at what we call repurposed drugs, so drugs that might already be approved by the FDA, but are being, now looked at in treatments of mild to moderate COVID, as well as some of the medicines that I just named. So, for example, Paxlovid, doing studies, in fact, that has happened in people that are lower risk to see if, in fact, there's benefit. I think that's where, it has been less clear, and I think that is in large part because, luckily, of vaccination. So I think this is a really important part for folks to realize. Prior vaccination, and particularly boosters most recently in the past, really still protects you from getting really sick from this. And so, I think, trying to show that a drug can prevent hospitalization or death, which is where the studies first focused appropriately, is now luckily harder to show because with vaccination, with prior infection, and with combinations of that with boosters, more people may get infected but are not going to end up in the hospital. And so have there been studies done looking at people who meet that criteria and trying to see whether or not we can maybe not prevent hospitalization and death because the vaccines and prior infections are doing that for us, but can we show that we can actually shorten symptoms? And there are studies now looking at this. The study that I'm involved in is called Active 6, which is part of the platform trials that are being run by the NIH and funded by the federal government to try to answer that question. So what we say for Active 6 is, can we show that we can make people feel better faster? Because that actually remains, we think, very relevant given the level of vaccination and prior infection coverage that we now have across the United States.
We are speaking with Dr. Susanna Nagy, infectious disease clinician at Duke University School of Medicine, on Ask an Expert. If you've got a question for the doctor, just email us, askus@kcbsradio.com. Doctor, stand by just 1 second because we are going to hop back over to your local Honda dealer's traffic center to get an update on our drive this morning from Kim Wonderly. Hey, a couple bad problems here. This is just a stall, but it's really jammed up traffic out of downtown Oakland at South 880. This is just before 23rd Avenue. Stall blocks one of the middle lane, second lane from the left. This is a solid stop and go backup from 980 out of downtown Oakland right now. Brand new crash just coming in for the Peninsula. This is in Palo Alto, South 101 South Darrow. It looks like they're trying to move this off from the center divide off to the right shoulder, and still dealing with delays into Mountain View on the northbound side of 101 near Moffett. A crash is still clearing from the middle lane. Traffic is backed up on both 101 and 237 from right about Lawrence Expressway. Not stop and go, but it's still slow here as they work to clear this to the shoulder. Your next update, 9:38 on the traffic leader, KCBS.
Sunny skies inland today. Still have some clouds lingering at the coast. Expect highs ranging from the 60s at the coast, 70s and 80s. 80s and low 90s inland. Traffic and weather together on the 8s on All News 106.9 and AM 740 KCBS.
KCBS News Time 9:29. You are listening to Ask an Expert on KCBS. We're speaking with Dr. Susan Nagy, infectious disease clinician at Duke University's School of Medicine. Again, if you've got a question, you can just email us at askus@kcbsradio.com. All right, doctor, we're going to take some of our listener questions now. They might be related to treatments. They might be a little bit more general, but this one is from a listener wanting to know if you are noticing more reinfections with these latest variants, specifically reinfections, and if so, are they more mild than they were with, say, the Delta variant and before?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I can certainly say that we're definitely seeing reinfection. I think what we're learning about this virus, particularly with Omicron and the subvariants that have come from Omicron, so we think about BA2 and BA4 and BA5, is that we do see that that there are reinfections, and frankly, we're seeing people that had BA1 or BA2 just 4 or 6 months ago, and now they're coming in with a new subvariant. So, the question is the disease milder? So far, yes. The answer is it does appear to be milder compared to, exactly as the listener named, the Delta variant, which we saw was a combination of a bit more transmissible and more severe clinical disease. So I think overall the good news is that as we have this combination, as I mentioned, of immunity from prior infection and vaccination and boosters, yes, we're seeing infections. Yes, we're seeing reinfections.